So I'm going to talk about something that I actually like, but obviously has problems. I like it in one way, and I don't like it in another. And I think that right now it's getting a lot of hate. Have you heard of vibe coding? Have you encountered vibe coders?
Oh boy, have I heard of vibe coding.
Oh, really?
And vibe coders, yeah. Especially over the past 2.5, 3 months, for sure. But I think even before that, like when Cursor AI started to become a thing. And then I've been hearing like just vibe, like brainstorming sessions with LLMs. But the primary space that I've been hearing about it in is coding. And I think it's good that it unlocks a lot of potential, but there's a lot of downsides to it.
Yeah. So for the uninitiated, because I somehow didn't stumble on this until I think yesterday, this term, I stumbled on a LinkedIn post. For the uninitiated, there's actually a Wikipedia article about it, so that's how you know it's for real.
I'm sure there is.
Vibe coding is a programming technique dependent on artificial intelligence, where a person describes a problem in a few sentences as a prompt to a large language model tuned for coding. The LLM generates software, shifting the programmer's role from manual coding to guiding testing and refining the AI-generated source code. So it is coding using AI without knowing how to code, which on an individual level, for like an individual person who wants to create their own cool little project, is a huge unlock. But what's really weird is that I'm seeing a lot of parallels to like AI art. It has gone beyond that to where people are like, it has become a thing, like a proper noun to become a vibe coder. Mm-hmm. So much so that here's a real job listing for a vibe coder job.
Stupid, by the way.
Yeah. Oh, and we're going to get into why this is a problem in a second, but I just want to read how they describe it in this job listing. A vibe coder is a rare breed, a fusion of a product manager, engineer, and UX thinker. You're the type of person who doesn't just build features, you design the experience, question the roadmap, and iterate until it just feels right. You think like a founder, execute like a solo operator, and know exactly when to loop in the right people. Let's redefine how products are built. That's a red flag parade right there, I think.
Yeah, actually, so in the right context, that's a good description for something, right? Mm-hmm. It's like the old idea of a skunk works is you're gonna like sit in a room, throw a ball against the wall, toss ideas around, it comes back, you make some changes, and by design you're creating an imperfect thing that shows potential. It's like a directional thing. And then somebody makes the real version of that. Yeah.
Like there's nothing wrong with pie in the sky engineering or going through that at all. And there's no problem having AI help you code things. The problem is when you are a vibe coder only, you have no knowledge of coding or any of like the underlying concepts, and you release products to the public.
Yeah. Yeah, you don't want to release stuff to the world that's been solely vibe coded and not run through any other stuff. And I have heard of that. I think that there are probably a bunch of people making mobile apps that way right now, and then doing pay features on that. And so that's going to be a thing. The iteration cycle for products, I think, makes it really, really attractive because you can create a product, get it out in the world, build some excitement, get a few $1,000s or maybe more, and then that thing become obsolete because the next wave of products comes that's better than that. And so you're like filling technology gaps and product gaps really fast. The biggest problem is like, what are you doing that's got some potentially private data that needs to be protected, has some security functionality, gets integrated with a larger IT stack and creates vulnerabilities or worse?
Yeah. And also, and I feel like in a lot of cases, what product gaps you're filling is important too, because there's just like a lot of slop and bunk and noise and stuff, like people trying to make a quick buck, throwing something out that's sloppy. So like, it's one of those things where like, it's turning into a dirty word to be a vibe coder. And like, I feel that it's kind of like being a poser. But it's also, like you said, there's also like fast iteration is attractive. Prototyping is fine. Building products is fine. This meme is something I really like, which is the first time I saw the term vibe coder. It says, it was a tweet from Esoteric Cafe on Twitter saying, good time to get into cybersecurity because all these vibe coded apps are going to make it to production soon enough.
That's what we always talk about in the cybersecurity world, is that if people are vibe coding and then building that as a production ready system, you're essentially just creating this whole fleet of 0 days. And those for who are not in cybersecurity, if you've not heard of a 0 day, it just means an exploit that's not previously been known widely or had the industry hasn't had a chance to patch it. And so there's just these huge vulnerabilities that anybody that knows about it can drive a truck through and cause devastation.
And it's because they've been aware of it for 0 days, right? That's where the name comes from?
Yeah, the industry's only been aware for a day. The attackers may have been aware for weeks, months, years, whatever. And then also, I would say if you're using a kind of an unvetted large language model like DeepSeek or something to do your vibe coding with, you may actually be intentionally, or China may be intentionally putting 0 days in your code. So you have to think about that too.
Gosh, what an interesting attack vector that would be. Training
we saw that with propaganda, right?
Yeah.
So why not with code?
Yeah. It's just, it feels sneakier, but I guess you could probably do that, right? Train it on just a bunch of code, fine tune it on a bunch of code that...
Well, and you have people that don't, almost by design, they don't understand the code that they're looking at. So they're not going to put it through some kind of rigorous process.
And that's the thing. And like the parallels to AI art really are here too. Like not understanding what you are doing, not knowing the systems you're interacting with kind of makes it impossible to like actually create anything yourself, because you're not really making choices. You're not understanding how things come to be. You're just asking for a result and getting something that will try and get you close. So like the iterating process that way is a nightmare. And when you're relying on LLMs, like the amount of control you have is so little, especially if you don't know anything about code. Because like I have been working on a couple of small coding projects and I've been using AI assistance for it. I don't know if I would call myself a vibe coder, but I wouldn't put myself too high above that. Because like I know some languages, I have like a grasp of the syntax and like how these things work.
Right.
Or not the syntax, but like the underlying structure of how coding works. And using AI to assist you and make you faster or help you with syntax of a language you're not familiar with is incredible, is super useful.
Oh, yeah.
But you can't check the work if you don't know what's wrong. You can just feed it error messages, ask it to fix them. And that's how you end up with something like this meme, which is probably not super readable, but I'll just describe it because I think this is such a great issue. It's a coding problem where you ask ChatGPT to print the numbers 1 through 10. And what this person, the meme says, what I expected, for I in range, 1, 11, print I. Loop through and print the number. What ChatGPT gave was a recursive solution. So it's like a function where it says print numbers n equals 1. If n is greater than 10, return. Otherwise, print n and then print numbers n plus 1. Call the function again with the counter incremented by 1. And so that's not bad, right? That works. You can iterate through numbers that way. But then they asked ChatGPT to optimize it, and it made it multi-threaded. So each time the function goes through now, it spawns a new thread, and on that new thread, it calls the same function, but with an incremented counter. So it's like you would use threads to do it in parallel, right? But instead it's calling the threads sequentially from inside of itself recursively. I think if this executed, it would just spawn 10 threads. But the bottom text of the meme is, now my CPU is at 100%. My PC sounds like a jet engine. Thanks, ChatGPT. And like, talk about, that's a great way to get race conditions and things like that. It's just bad. And I'm not sure that this is like 100% a real AI output, but it's illustrative of that idea, the broader problem of like, if you don't understand what you're doing and you just say, hey, optimize this, and it gives you back that, and you're like, cool. And then you just take that and throw it in.
Yeah.
Now you've broke it, and you probably won't be able to figure out why.
Yeah, I think Vibe Coder should probably carry with it the same weight as saying something like Script Kiddie.
Yeah,
right?
Absolutely.
It's kind of this, you're trying to make use of something that you don't really understand, but it feels more technical than it is. It feels like you're really doing something, and you can have big impact as a Script Kiddie. You could take down a government as a Script Kiddie.
Script Kiddies cause problems.
You might also take down a government as a vibe coder if you don't do the right. You really know what you're doing. You might actually let somebody else take down a government as a vibe coder. So there's lots of chances for, I think, both positive and negative with this thought of iterating with a large language model. We know that the largest of large organizations are essentially putting people that do understand programming in situations where they're vibe coding with systems in a much more intellectual way, where they're going back and forth and they're using cursor AI and so on, and they're seeing efficiency gains like in the 80s and 90%, because a lot of coding is just mundane stuff.
Oh, yeah.
You have to have the critical eye to look through the mundane and go, yeah, that looks right, that looks right, that looks right. And then know how to iteratively debug.
And that's why I think that there's like a separate tier from that and vibe coding, because that is just AI assisted coding. Because, sometimes you just have to type a bunch of stuff and you know exactly what you're going to have to type. It's a standard pattern. So it's really easy to just be like, hey, can you throw this in here for me? I'm going to take a sip of my coffee while you do it.
Include stdio type of stuff at the top of a C program.
Yeah, or even just like I was building out parts of a website and just building out basic stuff like a hamburger menu. I don't want to just type a bunch of stuff like that. I know what that looks like. I know how that's supposed to function, so I can fix it. It'll get me 90% of the way there with a couple button presses. I don't have to do anything. That's so different than being like, I don't know how to make any kind of program, but I'm going to use this. Right. There's a parallel that comes to my mind that I want to draw with this to wrap it up, and it's that you see a lot of people talking about AI art as democratizing art. And I think that's inaccurate because it doesn't democratize art skills. It democratizes the ability to create a high quality digital image quickly. That's what it is. If you use that for artistic purposes, you're using it for artistic purposes, but we're not democratizing art. Just like this isn't democratizing coding. It doesn't make everyone have the ability to code.
Yeah, it democratizes output.
Yeah. We just get excited and we lose sight of these things. And it's a big unlock. Learning to code for me was a huge unlock because I didn't learn anything about coding until pretty late in my adulthood, I guess. I feel like I should have started as a teenager. So I'm saying I didn't pick up any kind of coding until I was in my mid-20s. And it's a huge unlock both for what you can do on a computer and how you see the world. And so it's exciting. And I get how people can get into vibe coding with an AI and get excited about it and then think they want to go get into a job with this. It's weird to see companies respond and want to take people into that. We just need to be more careful.
Absolutely. And they may just be jumping on the newest term and seeing, that's actually this other rec that we had open, and we're just going to rename it Vibe Coder, but it was really like some kind of product design analyst.
That's a fair point. It could just be rebranding to look more attractive. But also, I'll link in the show notes. I found, and I don't know how legit this is, but vibecodecareers.com. It's the #1 job board for vibe coders. So
it just literally, I felt my esophagus just give up a little bit of lunch.
Yeah, I've never heard of any of the companies that I see listed here. So, I mean, that is kind of an indication. Like you said, it's these...
And you may never hear of them again.
People just want to iterate fast and jump on stuff. But if you encounter vibe coding as a term in the wild, now you're equipped to know what that means. And I also would encourage anyone to vibe code individually. Make your own cool little software projects and learn. That's... I know we're out of time. The thing that I don't understand is that a lot of the people making these AI products and services seem to have really twisted ideas about what people want and what actually improves people's lives. And these tools can be huge boons to feeding your own creativity and learning, but everyone wants to treat them like an end-all solution instead of a learning tool. I think you could learn to vibe code and then learn to code from that as you actually get into it.
Right.
But you shouldn't be your job. Not at first.
No, and exactly.